Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti. For last couple of months, we have been covering the US presidential elections in greater detail. Today, we are coming back to the subject matter again because elections are not over yet in its entirety. Counting is over, but the elections have not been certified yet. Only in the eyes of the media the elections are won or lost. So, in the case of the media, as we now realize, Mr. Biden has won more number of votes, consequently, more number of electoral votes, and as a result of which, media is calling him president elect. But remember the process. The founding fathers laid down the process of the election and the election of the president and oath taking of the president. It's looking back, you really marvel at the wisdom of their thinking. It's so truly remarkable that what's happening today, the challenge posed by Mr. Trump, President Trump, that he's challenging the virtual, election this time for votes, electoral votes, the irregularities. These are the very things the founding fathers envisaged, thought about it. And as a result of which, from the date of election, there are certain high points of the process. And those high points of the process remain that every state certifies the election towards the end of November. Then it goes to December 14th, when the election votes are certified, electoral college things done. January 3rd, the new Congress takes oath. January 8th or 6th, the new Congress certifies the electoral college votes. And January 20th in the afternoon, the new president takes oath. Now, it's very fascinating that in the 2000 election, Mr. Bush was not declared president-elect until after 37 days of the election because of just one state where the counting was a problem. So in this particular election, there has been a series of accusations of irregularities. The mail-in voting has been the principal problem. And as the storyline goes, when you dive deeper into that, in politics, there are things that happen on the surface, and then there is something below the surface, something in front of the curtain, and then there's something behind the curtain. The scenes play out. So to discuss the entire ramifications of it all, including some of the key issues as to why is it that the majority of Indians are reckoned to be Democrats, registered Democrats, I have always wondered, why is it so? We must address that question. Why Indians are Democrats? Why minorities flock to Democrats? This is an issue because we are part of this country. We must understand the why of it. Not the objection to anybody being whoever they are, but why is it so? And the third element also would be that what is the ramification, the impact and implication of this presidency or that presidency, Trump versus Biden, in the next 4 years? What are the implications for the world around us and the country of our original origin, India? So to discuss this matter, I have great privilege of welcoming Professor Amar from Seton Hall. He's an ardent Trump supporter, and he may be able to throw some insights into the mind that is playing around as to what has gone wrong with this election that Mr. Trump is not conceding, whereas there is a demand for him to give his concession speech and let Biden move in because it's all over. But is it? Professor Amar, welcome to the show, and would be very happy to hear your thoughts on this.
Good evening to you and good evening to your audience. And I'm happy to be here and speak with you virtually and for your audience and ready to answer your question. And starting with your first question, if you'd like to know what is happening in the mind of President Donald J. Trump and why he is not conceding. And so let me take that question first. Okay, we know, uh, not for sure, but we know what media reports to us. And media reported to us that uh, Biden won Pennsylvania, and Biden got the Pennsylvania delegates added to his count. They told us, okay, Biden won uh, Georgia with a slim margin. So Georgia delegates go to Biden, and they say, okay, now there are enough delegates Biden has to be declared as the winner. Now, media is not, according to our Constitution, deciding whether the president has been elected or not, or of those who had been contesting who is the winner. Here, media is deciding. And you know the issue the Republicans had with the media, with the story of fake news that had been going on. And I mean, I have never seen any news on Trump that was not editorialized or that was not commented. So far, so first they will editorialize, then they will give what Trump said, and then they will close with a comment negating what he said. And standard. And some of the channels did it more often than others. I started switching around and I found out some where there was less fake news, somewhere it was more fake news. Okay, so given, and I'm sure all your audience are aware of at least the name fake news and the allegations of fake news. Now, if fake news for one reason uh, we accept is fake news, or some of us accept is fake news, then why should we trust this fake news to tell us Biden has won, so Trump should concede? And if you concede, then all the vote counting stops. And counting is not done. It is actually still not done. Georgia is supposed to come up with its final count, and then Trump still has the time to go and appeal that count and request recount. It is because first recount is done under Georgia law when the difference between the two candidates is less than like 1%. And after that, if a candidate wants to have it recounted, the law allows that candidate to have it recounted. When the trust in media is lost, then why not take the time? Let me here give you a small example from my district. I live in New Jersey, and I live in district congressional district number 7. And 7 was being contested by Republican named Tom Kean. Tom Kean and opponent was Malakowski, Democrat. On the night of the election results, as they started to come out, in a matter of few hours, they gave District 7 to Democrats. And they said, at that time, 60% votes were in. And they said there is enough margin for us to declare him winner. So AP declared Tom Kean the winner, and New York Times followed shortly thereafter, and they declared him, I mean the Democrat winner also. Last I know, the difference had been narrowed to a point of like 3,000 vote difference. And it was 97% ballots that were counted. 3% ballots were yet to be counted, and 3,000 vote difference is nothing. And so I would say Trump is doing absolutely right by letting these votes be counted, and then all challenges be handled. And when challenges are settled and the counting is certified, and then delegates collect and they actually vote according to what the vote is counted. Because look at, Trump is meeting with Michigan Republicans, and Trump knows what happened in Michigan. And I'm sure you were earlier talking about how Rudy Giuliani is contesting some of these counts and some of the allegations of uh, maybe mistakes made or intentional errors made or whatever. But one of the charge is that ballots which were actually given by under contract to a company called Dominion, and they had their counters in Germany. So ballots were actually counted in Germany. So what kind of election we are having here? A company that is Venezuelan, like Dominion is a Venezuelan company, they are given the contract, and then you send the ballots or you have ballots counting done in Germany, then we become like exactly quote unquote a banana republic.
I mean, we are virtually becoming like Venezuela. So
I don't know. I mean, even
you are
Angela Merkel
absolutely right.
never liked Trump. Angela Merkel never liked Trump.
Yeah.
Angela Merkel openly said that what Trump is doing is not right. And Germans believed when Trump said, why do we have such a big trade deficit with Germany? And I want Germany to start importing more. You know, all editorials in German papers and others, they said it is America's mistake. Why they did not bring up this issue in the past administrations that there is such a big deficit and that we should address. Now, all of a sudden you tell us start
That
to.
brings me to a very important point you said here. The
Mhm.
one thing which I noticed about Mr. Trump, he did not win friends while he was trying to clear the swamp. I put it that way. You know, we all know there is establishment that is part of the process.
Mhm.
I'm not saying the establishment is the swamp or whatever, call it by any name. When Mr. Trump asked NATO to pay up their commitment to the NATO budget of 1 or 2% of their GDP to NATO budget for their own security. That's the
Mhm.
important part,
Yeah.
right? He definitely, all the countries and all the NATO members suddenly must have realized that what was free money to them till that time has gone away. So, and they looked bad in the eyes of the world. They claim to lead
Mhm.
the European part of it, that we are the protectors of the world peace and everything else. They must have looked bad. Their pride and ego must have been hit hard. Same thing with Islamic terrorism. Same thing with calling the fake news, the pharma company. Same thing with calling China, Mexico, renegotiating the new treaty, getting out of the trade, multilateral trade agreements, getting out of climate Paris agreement. So he did things which annoyed virtually everyone. Though, in my opinion, I think to give the benefit of doubt, he was taking pro-America steps.
Mhm.
It's not that America has to foot the bill of NATO all their life. They have to come up too. Similarly, Canada was charging much higher tariffs for American goods, and China was dumping and charging tariff on American products. Everybody was having a ball of a time at the expense of America. This is something that we didn't realize until Trump began to bring that fact home.
Mhm.
That guys, we are the ones who are paying for others' joy. We have to stop that. And that's where he ended up annoying a lot of people, including Democrats, including Republicans. So what culminated in this election, that it is like Julius Caesar has to go. That's the kind of mentality that set in, whether it was, never Trumpers or, rhinos in Republican Party, or the world around as we know it. And his commanding height was the wonderful performance of US economy.
Mhm.
And they changed that narrative. The only way to hit him hard was to bring down or shake to detract him from all that he was doing in the reference the US economy. Black employment highest, Latino employment highest, higher incomes, Asians, everybody was doing better.
Mhm.
But the system went against him. Now, the question that comes to my mind is, that, what bothers me more, Professor, is that here was a man who won the election in 2016 without any record of being a president. Here he had a brilliant record of, fixing things. What Paul Krugman had deridedly called him, that the economy will be in the ruins. Paul Krugman has not spoken since. I read that article in Wall Street Journal that Trump economy will lead to a disaster for America.
Right. I remember.
You remember?
Very well.
You remember President Obama?
Yeah.
A very likable man, and we got to give credit to President Obama that he may have been controversial, but you can't dislike that man. He's so lovable. I mean, even he said Trump can't have a magic wand to bring back manufacturing and things like that. But I was totally shocked to see that an ex-president who is never supposed to interfere in his successor's life, he has been brazenly attacking him almost on behalf of Mr. Biden, whom he did not endorse until he had won the convention. This is so bizarre a story. Your thoughts?
Okay. I would say I'll give you a number of answers. You had here so many questions.
No, my question was not question.
I will. I remember all your questions, and I'm going to try to answer all of them.
Sure, go ahead.
And I hope I don't take too much time, and I'm going to give short answers.
Sure.
First, you said here was a person who never had been in politics, and he got elected. Now, I think he is a fundamentally very nice person and very honest person. I have been listening to liar, liar, liar. I haven't been able to find one person tell me what is one lie that Trump made. And then we go, I am a researcher. As a researcher, if someone calls something lie, I will first define what is lie. And then how do you operationalize a lie? And then look at the statement of a person, and then you classify it whether it is a lie or not. And I didn't find Trump making statements that were lies. But what I told you, he's a fundamentally very honest and very lovable, affectionate person. Never in the history of American presidential election, voters will be chanting, "We love you, we love you, we love you," and that was Trump. And the votes he got this time around so far are like about 20 million votes more than he got last time. As of
10 million more.
10 million, yeah. 10 millions more than he got last time. And as of now, the numbers as I saw, Trump has about 75 million votes, and Biden has about 79 plus million votes. So he has 4 plus million votes more. That by percentage is less than what in case of Hillary Clinton, the difference was. Now, we do not go by popular vote, and I am glad we do not elect presidents by popular vote. It's because when our forefathers were drafting the Constitution, they wanted to give representation to all states. It's because it was a federation that was started with 13 colonies, and they wanted all colonies to represent. Then as states started to be formed, they wanted every state. That's why every state gets 2 senators. Why have Biden and his colleagues and others been talking about making Puerto Rico a state and make Washington, D.C. a state? Because they want to get more senators on their side. I mean, it's such a shame, really. I'm going to repeat. It's such a shame to see politicians putting their interests first, their party's interests first, and then worry about what is good for the country and what is not good for the country. So here we have a number of states left in the middle of the country where they will never be able to have an important say in the election of a president if it went simply by popular vote. So I would say because Biden has 79 plus million votes and Trump has 55, 75 some million votes. It is not a measure for the media or for any politicians, Democrats or Republicans to say, uh, Trump, you should concede. I mean, nobody has a right. If the votes are not all counted and then all not certified, and our forefathers have set the deadlines, and the deadline is December 14 and January 20 for taking oath, December 14 for the delegates to be assigned, and safe harbor date is December 8. By December 8, all states have to have everything done and they tell who are their delegates. They can change. They can change anytime until the 16th, I'm sorry, until the 14th of December. But until that time, things can go on. And if you would like me to answer, how come he had such a kind of deal with the swamp in Washington, D.C., and how he became actually a victim of the swamp himself. And that is, look at Obama. Obama only had 2 years in Senate, and Obama after that started to contest for president and became president. Obama had no experience. Obama had lost being his state senator election. And then he found this US Senate position become open. And fortunately for him, his opponent, who was shoo-in to be elected, to be nominated as a Democrat candidate for the Senate position, he got caught in a bar, in a bribery scandal and all that. Out he went, and there was nobody but Obama. And then when it came to general election, look at this is Chicago, and you can imagine what happens in Chicago and how much corruption goes in Chicago. When it came to general election, the Republican got caught, and the Republican went down, and it was Obama. That's how he became president.
Right.
Now, but
Right.
the first thing he did as a president, he didn't want to deal with the swamp. Same thing
Right.
as Trump. He invited resignations from all diplomats all over the world and
Right.
others also. And he asked them to surrender. Then he decided who will be appointed ambassador and who will not be appointed ambassador, who will be called back and who will have no job. That's how he cleaned the place. It's because he was surrounded by David Axelrod and Rahm Emanuel, two of his, actually they were lobbyists who also ran Obama's campaign, and they ran their White House to set everything up. Trump did not. Trump did not have people like Rahm Emanuel or David Axelrod to really control what will happen in White House. I mean, it is really, really sad that people surrounded Trump who did not have their mind either in Trump's well-being or in really Republican Party. They were.
That throws up a very interesting element is that he became the president. Most of even think about it, people like Bolton and Scaramucci, they all were trying to profit from him by writing a book and going against him. So it
Mhm.
was like, who was the swamp creature? I don't know really. But let's come
And-
back to some other topics. So
okay.
there are important topics to talk
Mhm.
about. Is what I felt as a layman. What I felt was that here was a man who had significant accomplishments and tough fights, whether it was pharmaceutical company taking on the immigration lobby, taking on the whole world to fix things for America. And he was, and here is Biden, who did nothing to campaign, who lost first 4 or 5 of his primaries and caucuses to other candidates. He was virtually an embarrassment on the debates with his loss of memory and cognitive abilities being under suspect. He was not in physical fit. People were talking derisively about him. And lo and behold, he is the one who is the nominee. Because of COVID, he didn't even campaign properly. He had no agenda. He had a very negative record against him of 47 years being in the swamp. So in the second debate, when Mr. Trump got him, that he said that I will fix immigration in the first 100 days. And he said, you didn't do it in 8 years. And that's the question which I, as a journalist, have been thinking about, that whenever Biden talks about a problem, I have only one question. Joe, what did you do while you were in the office? 8 years with a black president. You were the vice president to a very popular president who was black, loved by people around. You didn't fix the Black lives issues. You didn't fix any issue for that matter. So when you are saying that in my presidency I will do it, why must anybody believe you? That was my question. But even I would like you to address that. Second thing was very important, and that angered me actually. As a human, as a journalist, angered me. When people heralded him to be a president, he knows how to unite people.
It
And
was the strategy.
in his speech, he says, let's not demonize anybody. And I said, geez, you guys were demonizing Trump as if even when he was not the president.
Yep.
And from day one onwards, you were trying to people were saying, burn down the White House. He's not my president. You ran a counter rally against him. And you don't demonize and, expect healing. Why? Why do you expect him to provide you healing touch?
You are right. And he says, let there be healing and let there be union.
Right.
And let's all work together to make me successful.
Right.
That's exactly what he's saying. Now look at, he's digging enemies of Trump and bringing them back. Preet Bharara, the New York South District attorney.
Correct.
And why are you bringing Preet Bharara? Preet Bharara was really such, when you look at his character, he built his name on arresting an Indian. Look at, he's an Indian, Indian origin. So what is the easy target? And to show that I really am not biased, I even can go and screw an Indian. So he picks a diplomat from the consulate of New York,
right,
and goes after her and arrests her. And even though as a diplomat, she had the immunity and eventually governments got together and pulled her up, he went to arrest her at the corner with handcuffs. I mean, this is the person's character. Going after, when you know it is diplomat and when you know it is Indian, he would not have done that to a German. He wouldn't have done that to a Britisher. He did it to an Indian. Now, Biden goes and he tries to find Preet Bharara and bring him back up, reward him for what he did. And he's doing same thing with many others. Romney, he says he's going to bring Romney in his cabinet. Why? Then you say, let's unite and let's work for each other. Let's here somehow heal. Are you working for healing? The answer is no. Now, why he was in the basement for all this time? That was their strategy, Democrat strategy. They knew if he is going to face press and they ask him questions, he's going to lose his cognitive ability and he's going to end up saying things that don't make sense, or he's going to stammer, or he's going to find no answer and give. And he has done that. We know it several times, not even knowing the name of the former president and not even name of the city or state where he was in. They realized it. They said, put him in the basement because we know how to handle Trump. They had been planning by all means the day in November 9th, when Trump was declared elected in 2016 and Hillary Clinton had conceded, they started to see how to destroy this person. But
that's the important part. That's a very important part. You see, Hillary Clinton gave the advice to Biden that do not concede. And now Democrats are asking
Exactly.
Trump to concede.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and the other part, which now when the stories emerge, what is fascinating is to know how the software company Dominion with the US based Venezuela company, Strategy something, I don't remember the exact name, they colluded. So that means the entire thing was played out for a very long time. That is why perhaps the Biden people, the Democratic Party people knew that we will fix the vote by voter switch.
yeah.
It has happened. Think about it like this. It's a very, very important point. People are not paying attention to that. Sorry. The reason why Trump is talking about all this is because every city, all the Democratic run places, cities primarily, they are all Democrat run. The mayors and the major people are all Democrats.
Mhm.
Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Michigan, Detroit,
New
these
York.
are all Nevada. Everywhere it is the same situation. So the question is, were the urban votes manipulated through the computer programming that was played out? Which means that the Democratic Party had planned it out. And that is why they told Biden, sit where you are, don't talk too much. But it is on record. It's very interesting. In his statement, he said, we have put together the greatest organization to cause fraud in
Mhm.
our elections. It is his statement. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
How does that play out? Will Giuliani and Sidney have time to prove this in the Supreme Court? How
I
will
think
that process run?
I I think they will, but first they have to go through the courts, state courts, and then move from there on. The important thing is if they have proofs. Now, I listened to his press conference this afternoon, and I heard he had more than 110 or so witnesses, which under perjury they made the statement and all that, and
Right.
they got. And some of them are also whistleblowers. Now, in case of, uh, we know when Bush was declared winner, at that time it was just one person. Now they have hundred some odd persons. So it would be wrong to not hear them and what evidence they have and what they have to tell. Because all you do is, if you're standing on a machine and you're putting a stack of ballots to be counted, and if so no one is looking around, you put that stack again in the machine and let it be counted. This is one of the things they are saying, that ballots have been counted twice or thrice. And there were some uh, viewers from the Republican side as well, but they were not allowed to come near. And if you are, they, this is what Rudy Giuliani was saying. They wanted to be 10 feet close to the machine. They were not even allowed that. So if you can't know what is going on, how can you simply say, I know the counting is fair? So I would say it should go through and let the law take its course.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Professor, because of the simple reason that many people from India and other places have called me. What's going on? I said, you are seeing the law play its course. Because since the matter is in the court and is heading to the court, it will be decided in the court. And if Trump doesn't have adequate numbers or adequate case to justify nullification of the election outcome in certain pockets and certain votes, like for example, how can non-citizen vote? How can have a ballot have no signature? How can you have a ballot accepted after a date? These are irregularities which could change the outcome of the election if it is established. If it is not established, he loses and he goes. But now comes to the second question. There have been people have been talking about the fact that Trump can come back and fight in 2024. It has never happened before, perhaps once in the history.
Once.
He will be 78. He will be Biden's age, and the Republican Party would like to place their own candidate, new candidate, who has a greater chance to win. Do you foresee Republican Party splitting? Do you see a rise of an authentic third party? Because this is important. Because how did Biden get 78 million votes shocks me, because he didn't even campaign for it. It's a hard business. You mean to say people voted for a guy who was not even willing to run for them? And here was Trump getting 74 million, doesn't surprise me. So the question here is, Trump got 74 million votes, and people who like him, they are committed to him. If tomorrow he floats a new party, it will be the end of Republican Party as we know it today. He will also be smart enough to bring about Trumpian Democrats as well, because those Democrats who are not interested in socialist regime that the new Democrats are talking about, they will want to go back there. After all, Trump means business. How do you see that future shaping up?
I do not think Republican Party will split. That's not going to happen. It's because Republicans know Trump has votes, and Trump got more votes than some of the candidates got from certain states for Senate and houses and others. And they also know Trump doesn't want to split Republicans. Look at last time there were 17 candidates in primary against Trump. And they included the governors and the former vice president and all kind of dignitaries, political dignitaries you could have, you had them. And Trump took care of them all and won. And this time he got more votes than last time. If Trump wins or it decides, if he wins this time, it may be good for Democrats in that way. They will have him put aside after 4 years. But if Trump does not win this time, Trump definitely is going to decide to contest in 2024. And in these 4 years leading to 24, he's going to, during the 2022 election, he's going to give Democrats such a hard time and win more senators and more House seats for Republicans. So I would say if Democrats really think strategically, rather than giving chance or presidency to Biden, who with a very high certainty or high probability, I should say, is not going to finish his 4 years. It is going to be Harris, Kamala Devi Harris, who is going to be sitting in the Oval Office.
Yes.
And
yes.
Nancy knows it.
Yes.
And Nancy also knows this is their opportunity to put a woman, a black so-called woman, in the White House, in
yes.
the Oval Office.
You're absolutely right.
And they will not be able to get this chance anytime other than now. So this is the reason they know have Biden in there. And the amendment, I believe, it's Amendment 25.
25, yes.
According to which they can declare the president either cognitively or physically or mentally incapacitated.
I don't think that will happen. I think Mr. Biden would
Himself?
voluntarily retire. He
Yeah.
will seek retirement because
Right.
of his ill health.
Mhm.
Having fulfilled his ultimate political ambition to be the president,
Yeah.
he's done. He will be there for a year. Second January 20th, 2022, it will be Kamala Harris addressing the State of the Union.
State of the Union.
Yes. That's right. There's another issue which is very close to my heart, and I have always wanted to understand that. And you are from New Jersey, I'm from New York. We are both democratic states. California is another democratic state where Indians are in greater number. Why are Indians generally believed or they are registered as Democrats? Because, why I ask that, because Indian values, the family values, the work ethic value, you know, they're all Republican values. They're conservative values.
Yep.
Why are we Democrats? What is it that is enchanting about the Democrats?
There are a number of points. Let me start with the history. When India was really not even much aware of America, Indians only knew Washington and Abraham Lincoln. We read about them in our school books, and that was that. Now, during the 60s, a person came there as a senator and with his beautiful wife, and he toured India and enchanted India. That was Kennedy and his wife, Mrs. Kennedy,
Jacqueline Kennedy. Yeah.
Jacqueline Kennedy. And they simply enchanted Indians, and they became fans of the charisma of Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy. And as soon as they knew he was Democrat, they started to appreciate Democrats. When they came to America, under whatever chance, they didn't even know much about Republican Party. So they started to associate with Democrats. Then there are also some other reasons. As they became more aware of things, Indians want immigration. A large number of Indians want green card, and they believe they would have a better chance of getting green card under a Democrat than under a Republican, although they are false, because George Bush had done more for immigrants than Obama. Obama, after his first term, when he won in 2008, he had full control of Senate, White House, and the House. If at that time he wanted to give citizenship to DACA, he would have. If he wanted to make all illegal immigrants legal and give them green card, or even give them citizenship straight, say you have been illegal for 4 years, so apply for citizenship, and after 5 years you become Americans. He could have done it. He didn't do it. He did not do it because he did not want to do it. So, and this is really something that somehow Indians and immigrants do not understand. And Trump, again, was the first president in a long time who had a comprehensive immigration bill introduced.
Right.
Democrats did not want to support it. So I guess blaming Trump for immigration is really more a political ploy rather than the reality. So those
political ploy the Indians don't understand, which is
Indians don't understand. That is true. And now, this time around, we were expecting Republicans to get approximately, by some measure, 22%, by some measure, as many as half the Indian vote for the 2020 election. It didn't happen. I don't know the final numbers. I'll wait for the final numbers. But the reason it did not happen is it was Kamala Harris. Somehow, and I was a little bit afraid. Channel 11 interviewed me on that, and I gave them why it was a negative. But many Indians immediately, as soon as they knew she's Indian, and she put on, she had a sister putting on sari, and she putting on bindi and all those. So Indians started to praise. And then she never did that. She went to temple and she started to greet on several festivals like Diwali and all that. So it definitely is.
No, that is what is sad. That is what is sad, that we Indians are so flippant. And I dare say that. I dare say that they got so mushy hearing the name Kamala. I mean, whereas this wonderful woman has her own successes to her credit, and I very proud of her as a woman to have achieved, although she ran a lousy campaign as a president that she had to drop out.
Right.
Her own party did not want her as the president, so she had to drop out.
Mhm.
This is a backdoor way of coming back in. So she has found a way to get in the system, but she is not Indian. She
Right.
did not even
I,
she
I,
didn't even she didn't even applaud her mother. Didn't even mention her mother's name. She just said, "My mother came here as an immigrant at 19 years of age."
Mhm.
It's only after she was the vice presidential candidate that she began to talk about my chittis in Tamil Nadu and my idlis and dosas.
Right.
That was so sad that we, despite being educated, we did not understand
Yeah.
that it was an
During the primaries at a debate, a reporter raised the question to her
Hmm.
that why she never told or talked about being an Indian and she called herself black and
Yeah,
her father was a Dominican Republic. Where is African in it? So from that point on, she did not say, or others also during even presidential election, they would not call her African American.
correct.
They would call her Black American.
Yes,
Black.
she is. She wants to be known, and nothing wrong in it. If she chooses an identity, that's her privilege.
No, you can't pick identity like
No,
that. That would be
no.
false.
I'm saying that if she wants to be known, if she has chosen that, it's like becoming a Hindu, becoming a Christian. No problem with that.
No, but
But you
that
know,
is different.
in this particular instance, she has acknowledged her past as a black woman. She has done that. She has always done that.
Yeah,
What
but
I'm saying is
Hindu
for us
becoming
us Indians to get crazy about that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
a Hindu becoming Christian doesn't make him not an Indian.
correct.
Okay, so if he says I am not an Indian and starts to lie that I am
Black.
black or whatever,
Yeah.
that is perjury.
That's deception.
Make that
Absolutely.
statement like that. But
Right.
obviously, uh, even someone raised in one of these debates for one of the TVs, uh, a question was raised even about her character. I don't want
No,
to.
I wouldn't go in that
I
part
don't
domain
want to
because
go in there.
as an adult, grown-up people, what they do is their business, their life. But then, hey,
Oh, I not in my dictionary.
no. In the
Not
sense,
in my
no. Let me
dictionary.
put it this way.
Hmm.
Let me put it this way. I am not after her character, her life. Trump was hit, Clinton was hit. Why should she be spared? Just because she's a woman? I take that stand. But for this discussion, that's not important. That's the point which I am trying to say. Nothing
Yeah.
else.
No.
Because because,
I'm not
because
saying
I totally agree with you. Character matters.
I
Trump,
am going to
one of
hire
the
a
biggest
person.
attacks, one of the biggest attacks on Trump was his character, his
Mhm.
behavior. So why,
Yeah.
if his behavior is in question, everybody else's behavior ought to be in question. As simple as that. Yeah,
Vibhuti, let me tell you one thing. If I am hiring somebody
right.
whom I'm going to give full trust and I expect full trust, and the person is sleeping around, I'm not going to hire the person.
Right.
Because how can I trust? He could be sleeping one day with one woman and sharing bed and talking things, and another day going somewhere else and talking things. And if this person has my confidentiality, I am not going to hire this person in that position. That's me.
That's you. That's you. That's
I
right.
want to look at the wholesome person,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
everything, and then I'm going to say what kind of person one is. But that's not important in case of Kamala Harris. What is important in case of Kamala Harris is while she was half Indian, why this thing was not brought up sooner. But
Correct.
Indians still bought it, and Indians voted for Biden because of Kamala Harris. So
Right.
this is an answer to your question.
That's right. Thank you very much, Professor Amar. It is always a pleasure to hear your thoughts. You are so active in American social and political life. Stay active. Come back again. Viewers, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being here, and appreciate your support. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Let's see how the entire presidency evolves. Thank you for being with us. Have a great day.